Hello and welcome to my channel, which is all about street photography. I'm often asked when people see my photos, did you ask permission before taking that picture? And I really like this question. The reason I like it is because if someone asks me that question, it means that they've thought about it, haven't they? They've seen the picture and they've thought, I wonder if Peter asked before he took that picture. And today I'm really going to cover my thoughts on the pros and cons of asking, whether or not it's better to ask or better to take the picture first without asking. But before I go into that, let's talk about the legal aspect. Now, obviously it depends on what country you're living in. All the laws are different in every country. But I think in most countries, including the UK, street photography is completely legal. If you're in a public place, you're completely entitled to take pictures of anything that you can see in that public place, and that includes people. Now, of course, the legal situation is different to the ethical one. So whether it's legal doesn't mean that it's right to do so. And so there are certain times where I might not take a picture, even though I'm perfectly within my rights. And I personally believe that really it's all about respecting other people. So the legal aspect is one aspect, and then the moral aspect is another. But having said that, at least when you're taking pictures in the street, in most places, at least from a legal standpoint, you're not doing anything that you're not supposed to be doing. And I think it's nice to know that and have that confidence in case you are challenged or confronted by someone while you're taking the picture. Okay, now that's out the way, let's talk about really the pros and cons. And I want to start really with some of the benefits of asking permission before you take the picture. So really, if you do ask permission, it means that you're under a lot less stress. You don't need to worry about whether they're going to notice you taking the picture. You have a lot more time. You can actually focus the camera, take time to focus, make sure you've got the focus right, make sure that you've got all the settings right, rather than having to rush a picture and then find out later that you had the settings all wrong and not suitable for the scene. Having said that, it's quite nice of people to agree to let you take their photo. So I would suggest that you have all your settings kind of more or less ready before you ask. The worst thing that could happen is that while your subject is waiting, you spend like 10 minutes trying to sort of set up your camera. So really have the right aperture, have the right shutter speed, the right ISO for how sunny it is on that day. Have that all ready to go. Then you won't take up too much time and they won't regret agreeing to let you take their photo. So apart from being able to focus and take your time, you can also pose them in the way that you want to. You can ask them how you want them to stand or sit. And to a certain degree you can sort of tell them what you want them to do. So if you are going to ask for permission to take the picture, I think it's very important to have the right approach. So what that means is what I usually try to do is to sort of make them feel less threatened or suspicious as quickly as you can. So maybe explain that it's a hobby or you're doing a project or something like that, so that they don't have any other ideas about why you're taking the picture. And it's good to be prepared to answer the question of why you want to take their picture. So, you know, doing a project, I really like your outfit, something like that. Okay, so those are some of the benefits of asking permission before you take the picture. And now I want to move on to talk about some of the benefits of not asking for permission first. So a lot of the time, the reason we do street photography is to really capture a special moment, an emotion or an expression or something that somebody's doing. And often by asking permission to take a picture, the people will, not intentionally, but maybe automatically stop what they were doing or stop the thing that they were doing that made you want to take the picture in the first place. It might just be they were laughing naturally or having a really good time with their friend or their girlfriend or their family, and that moment will have gone once you've asked them to take the picture. Or sometimes it's just the natural sort of situation, and you can never recreate that again by asking them to do that. It might just be the way they were sitting in a really natural way, and then once you ask to take the picture, they can no longer do that exact same sort of pose again. So that's really one of the reasons why you might not want to ask before taking the picture. So in other words, what you're doing is you're doing what's known as breaking the scene. So the scene was there, but by interrupting the people and asking them if you can take the picture, you've actually broken that scene, and it's no longer the scene that really would have made a great picture. Oh, and by the way, a really good example of posed pictures where people have been asked permission is it's called the Humans of New York. So if you're not aware of that project, do have a look at it. I'll try and put the link in the description. But it started off as a blog and then was turned into a book, and now it's really more of a movement. And there have been sort of other humans of popping up in other cities. So, for example, I know there is a Humans of Bombay now, started by somebody else, but with the same idea, asking people for photos, and also sort of a short interview to ask a little bit about the person themselves. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is actually show you 10 photos, and I'm going to ask you guys to try to identify the photos where you think I asked permission before taking the picture, and then the pictures you think that I just took without asking. Okay, so we'll start with photo number 1, which is this one, and this is photo number 2. So maybe just make a note and number 1 to 10 and just say permission or no permission. So this is photo number 3 and photo number 4. And of course you can feel free to pause the video if you want to study the photo in a little bit more detail. So that's the beauty of video. So photo number 5 and photo number 6 and photo number 7 and photo number 8, and we're nearly there, photo number 9, and finally the last photo, photo number 10. Okay, so photo number 1, this is a couple who are, I guess, having a coffee on one of the popular areas of Shanghai during a weekend, so it's not a work day. And I did actually ask this couple if it was okay if I took their picture, but then I asked them to carry on doing what they were doing. So they started chatting to each other again, but then at the very moment that I took the picture, the gentleman was looked over at me directly. So it looks a little bit like he's posing, but then the lady with him is actually looking at him and in a kind of a very nice sort of smiley way, which I thought was very natural. So I was quite lucky to get a natural reaction. Then moving on to picture number 2, this is a guy in a very eye-catching stripy garment. I really liked his sort of outfit, including his shoes, his watch, his beard, everything about him. I really liked his style. I actually ran over from quite a distance to sort of try to stop him and ask him if I could take his photo. So photo number 2 is also a posed or a situation where I did ask for permission before taking the picture. And I really, really like this because I was able to take time to focus and not to have to rush and make sure I got the picture. Remember, I'm using film and a very old camera, so if I don't get the picture I won't actually know until the film is developed, and so this is another reason why it's even more important that I make sure I get the picture in the right way. So picture number 3, again on a weekend, everyone's very relaxed. This is actually a German couple, and they were very, very kind to let me to take the photo. And I did ask again, so this is actually a posed photo, but again, similar to one of the earlier photos, the gentleman is actually looking at I believe it's his wife, but I really like how he's sort of looking very admirably, sort of admiring his wife, and you can see that that he's very happy. So I like the emotion there. Again, even though it's posed, I am getting a little bit of emotion. Picture number 4 is actually a parking attendant. These are very common in Shanghai. His job is just to, when someone wants to park their car on the street, not in a car park but on the street, his job is to then find a space and collect the payment from the driver. And once again, although it may not look like it, I did actually ask if I could take his photo, and he agreed. I really like the photo because it's him in his workplace. You can see he's got all his drinks set up there, quite a lot of drinks. I was actually surprised that they were all his. And he's nicely set up there, his little station, and he's ready for the next customer. Okay, so picture number 5 is also actually posed. Well, posed in the sense that I did ask permission. So to be honest, in this situation, I normally wouldn't, and but I just thought, well, they seem quite friendly. I'm going to ask to take the picture first. But then I did ask them to then act naturally, and I think that this is an example of where asking actually broke the scene, because I feel like although they look like they're still chatting as normal, they weren't as animated or as natural as they were before I asked. So this is a very good example of where really asking has destroyed or broken the scene, and maybe I should have just taken the picture without asking. Okay, so you will have noticed that the first 5 photos, in each case I asked for permission. So what that means is that actually for the last 5, they were all pictures that I took without asking for permission. But let's take you through it anyway. So the suspense is all gone, but let's take you through it anyway, just to sort of give a bit of background to those pictures. So picture number 6 is just well, it's a couple in a coffee shop, also on a weekend, so very relaxed. I really liked how they were just, well, very relaxed. So I took the picture without asking. I think that they were slightly aware that I was there. They could see me in their peripheral vision. But I think they didn't seem too bothered, and I like that I think they are doing their normal things. He's on his phone, maybe checking his messages, and then she, for some reason, is looking at him in a very sort of. I like the way she's looking at him. I don't know what's going on, whether they were just having a break in between their conversation. But I like the picture anyway. I think it's even though there's no eye contact, I think it's capturing the scene really well, with also some people in the background also just enjoying their day off as well. Okay, so picture number 7, it's what I assume is a child and her two grandparents. Very common in Shanghai, in China in fact, for grandparents to raise kids while the parents go to work and support the family in terms of financially. And I really like that, you know, how the grandmother's sort of really smiling. It's a genuine emotion that I managed to capture, and the child is also obviously very happy as well. And again, this probably would not have been possible if I had asked for permission first. Picture number 8 is just a yawn, and again, self-explanatory. I don't think you can capture that when you're asking for permission. They wouldn't have done that. So picture number 9 is just 2 people, cyclists at the traffic light during a little rainstorm. So it had been raining quite heavily, but I really like how they're, again, being very natural and laughing despite the rain. And again, that wouldn't be possible if I had asked them if I could take a picture. They would have lost that moment. And finally, picture number 10. So this is, again, one of my favorites, and it's from quite a long time ago, I think 2006 again. And it's what I assume is the grandfather and grandchild waiting for a bus at a bus stop. And what I like about this picture is that most people don't notice in the beginning, but if you look closely, you'll see that he's actually carrying a cigarette in his hand, and the child is actually looking directly at the cigarette. And again, although he's looking at me, he's noticed me, so it looks like it could have been posed, but I think if I had asked to take the picture, I would have lost that situation. I would have broken the scene. So, for example, I think he may even have discarded the cigarette, thinking it's better to take the picture without the cigarette, and you know, that unique element of the photo would have been lost. So there you have it. 5 photos where I've asked for permission, and another 5 where I haven't asked. I've just taken the picture. Although again, I would like to stress that it's very openly taking the picture with the camera that I use, which is a Rolleiflex twin lens reflex camera. It doesn't have a very long focal length, so you do have to stand very close. So in most cases, I'm only 1 or 2 meters away from the subject. So they know exactly that I'm there, they know exactly what I'm doing, so they're aware of it. And so you could argue that in a way there is sort of implicit permission, because the fact that they haven't objected or covered themselves up or covered their faces and seem quite relaxed is in some way like a form of giving permission, although I haven't specifically asked. So there you go. I hope that has been helpful, and you can see really the pros and cons of asking for permission first and not asking for permission, and the kinds of results that you can get from those different strategies. And the only thing I would like to add to that really is that if you're afraid of asking, which it can be quite daunting at first, I would say don't be afraid of asking. Actually, 9 times out of 10, you'd be surprised, but I almost never get a refusal. Most people are quite happy that you've asked, and they're quite flattered that you think they're an interesting subject. And I would even go as far as to say that in sometimes, and in fact many times, the mere act of asking has made them happy, and they've been quite pleased to have been asked. And what I usually do as an extra tip, if I have a way of finding them again, so for example, if I know that they work in a specific place, what I'll do is I'll get a little print of the photo, and the next time I'm passing by, I'll drop in and actually give them the print. And a good example is the guy in the stripy outfit. I went back a week later with the print and dropped it off for him, and he was so happy. The expression on his face and the curiosity of all his colleagues in the shop who came over to see what all the fuss was about, that made my work very, very enjoyable and satisfying, because I think I made his day. And I think if you think of it that way when you approach people, that you're actually making them happy, that could help you to overcome some of the fear about breaking the ice and jumping in and asking for permission to take a picture. So give it a try. Let me know how you get on and in the comments, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in general about what you think about asking for permission versus not asking for permission, because I think it's a really interesting topic with many different viewpoints. Thanks very much for watching. If you found it useful, please do like and of course subscribe, and I'll be doing more videos like this in the coming days and weeks. Thank you for watching.